All right, good afternoon, cowboys, cowgirls, and outlaws. Welcome to an episode of Slick Sixguns Network, where we have coffee and talk about a weapon that I have. And specifically, this is kind of going to be more of a first impression video. So go ahead and get out your coffee and let's have a nice discussion. All right, so this So the gun that I'm going to show you today is going to be another pocket pistol, and I'm going to tell you about why I got it. I'm going to show you the revolver itself, just kind of from front to back, so you can get a view of what the thing looks like, and you can get, I will give you my impression of it. I will also give you the reason why I got it and how much I paid for it. So let's go ahead and show you the revolver first. This is what's called the American Double Action, and it is an H&R revolver. I do have an earlier episode in which I have what is called the Safety Hammer Double Action, made by the same company. This is essentially, in my opinion, the same revolver. However, it has a hammer spur. Once again, these revolvers, to my understanding, were made roughly from the 1880s to the 1950s. Don't 100% quote me on that, because I'm just going off of kind of what I've heard, not necessarily what I've read. But it would actually make sense, considering that a lot of companies at that time who were known for making pocket pistols had something similar to this, or a variant of it. So, you know, and I'm sure they all tried to copy each other. So with that being said, let's go ahead and show you this revolver. There's some stuff that's kind of interesting about it, and you may be able to point it out right away. Let me know in the comment section what you think of that. You're going to see that it's got some nice grips here. I would imagine those are replacement grips. I don't think they are original to the gun. However, I could be wrong. It is nickel plated, and it does have a blued hammer, a blued trigger. It has a blued trigger and a blued trigger and a blue trigger guard. So kind of interesting. Definitely looks like it's been used, as far as maybe someone just didn't oil it all the time, because it's definitely got a little bit of rust and pitting on it. So, you know, just kind of interesting there. As I said, it has a spur. It is unloaded. I'll go ahead and show you that now without, you know, pointing it at my face too much. The cylinder does spin freely, just like the other one I have. That's where it has most of the wear on it. It is chambered in 38 Smith & Wesson. It has roughly a 2.5 to 3 inch barrel. Has a half moon front sight, and the rear sight is integral with the front sight via a notch in the top strap. Somebody obviously did their own home gunsmithing here. I don't know if Bubba got a hold of it, or if that was just a gunsmith that decided to do a quick fix. My guess is that someone didn't have time to take it to anybody professionally, so they just tried to do it themselves. I don't know when that repair was made, but obviously someone's got a finishing nail in there, and it holds it in as, you know, that might be the trigger pin, but then again, it also might be a bolt pin. I'd have to take this thing apart, so I can't necessarily speak to it. I'm not going to pretend that I know what I'm talking about right now. You know, this is not going to be a history video or a technical breakdown video, so don't crush me in the comment section if I say something incorrectly. Semantics is everything, I know, for some people. So, you know, that's kind of the overview of it. I have not looked at the bore. I would imagine that, you know, it's probably similar to the outside of the gun, but it could be different. Anyway, like the other one, it does have a free spinning cylinder, even if you're not using it. To my knowledge, this one is actually probably not at this time safe to fire, just because in the other one you have the ability to go to a safety notch. You have the ability to go to, you know, you have that ability. And my understanding is that when you cock the hammer on this, you're supposed to be able to go into a safety notch, and it doesn't drop into it, which means that there's some issue with either the sear or the spring for the sear or something like that. So I would think that internally this thing is a little messed up. So my impression is that you could fire it at the full cock position. If you were to do a single action, you can do single action mode apparently, or you can do it in the double action mode. But but this one can't even go into single action. So my understanding is that even though it will lock up the cylinder at the full cock notch, if you are to double action fire it, it might be out of time. So I'm probably not going to fire this until I actually break it down, but I will definitely let you know how that goes. So once again, if anyone has these types of revolvers, understand that they should definitely be able to go into a safety notch, or they should be able to go into a full cock notch before firing. Otherwise, they are considered not necessarily safe to fire. So I just don't want to have anyone have issues with that, and I'm not going to have issues with it myself. But I just wanted to point that out, that is something that I didn't catch off the bat when I first got it. Some of you might be saying, shame on you for not checking that before you bought it. Well, like I said, this kind of came in with a package deal. And for those of you who actually know a little something about some of these firearms, you can repair them as long as you can find parts for them. So it's not like it's going to be super difficult. And especially since the gun is together, and I take it apart, I'll be able to see what's really wrong with it. But I would imagine that, this isn't something that is broken down and is a bag gun, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, where you have to figure out what pieces are missing. I can get the schematic for it and figure out what is broken and what to replace. So I don't think that's going to be a very hard repair. But I do think it's funny that somebody decided to put a little finishing nail in there. Okay, anyway, I'm speaking too long on this. But why did I get this gun? Like I said, I wanted to collect pocket pistols. This is just a different variant of the same pistol that I showed earlier, but it is just called the American Double Action. I have no idea why it's called that. Maybe for patriotic reasons, I'm not sure. Marketing, you never know. I'd have to look into the history of it. The other one isn't called that. It's called the Safety Hammer Double Action. This is called the American Double Action. Once again, is in 38 Smith & Wesson, not to be confused with 38 Special. And my understanding is that they were made in 32 and 38, much like a lot of pocket pistols were in the day. Often chambered in those calibers. So, this will be kind of interesting to see. And I got this as a package deal, and I got it for relatively cheap as far as how much it costs. It was probably about $100 to get it. So once again, if you want a piece of history that's relatively cheap, pocket pistols are definitely a good way to go. I shouldn't say they're really cheap, because cheap is really dependent on what you're willing to pay for. There are some guns out there that will go for thousands upon thousands or $10,000, but then there are others that will go for, sub 10,000, sub 5,000, sub 100, sub 500. And pocket pistols can definitely fall into that category. Definitely if you want to get into collecting, I think one of the first things you can get or should get is probably getting into the pocket pistols, just because they might be more to your budget. Anyway, so that's why I got it, for collection reasons. I probably could use it in cowboy action. To my knowledge, I think you can in the pocket pistol side matches. 38 Smith & Wesson and 32 Smith & Wesson can be used there. There are some limitations to what types of double action revolvers you can use, but I believe this would definitely fall into that, so definitely could be used potentially in cowboy action side matches if that's what you want to do, or you could just use it for collecting. My impression of this, good and bad. Well, first, obviously, I'm not really too excited about the fact that the hammer doesn't fall into the correct notch, and I'm going to have to do a little bit of fixing. But once again, it's kind of like collecting guns is almost equivalent to like getting into collecting cars, you're going to have to fix some things up, you know, for better or for worse, and it's just kind of part of the experience. So, you know, as long as you can find parts for the gun, and if you get it in, you know, relatively decent halfway shape, you could almost get it back to its original configuration. So that's the way I see it. I wasn't too excited that I'm going to have to do that. It more or less kind of holds me up on when I can shoot it. I was hoping to shoot this a lot sooner, but I will probably be shooting the other one sooner than this for obvious reasons. Obviously, you know, has some wear and tear on it. You know, nickel finish is still good. I'd say it's in fair condition. The roll markings on it are, you know, able to be seen with the serial number of 100, looks like 10,140, 10140. So, you know, my understanding is these got up into the hundreds of thousands serial range and higher. So I'm not going to say this is super early, but you know, maybe I'll be able to find the exact year this was made. The grips I think are kind of neat. I think it's, you know, to show it's not a working man's gun. I guess if this were all spruced up and kind of pretty, someone had a little bit of money to purchase those grips. So, you know, kind of something that if I were to act as a gambler, it might, you know, be a good fit. The nail, as I said, just kind of adds character to it. However, it doesn't look really appealing, aesthetically pleasing. Another thing that I don't really like about it is the spring over here for the cylinder pin is actually weak. It'll pull right out, as you guys can see. So that is something that is going to have to be fixed. Normally you would have to depress the front spring right here, and it could come right out. So I think that's something that is kind of weak about it, but you know, just an impression. I do like the octagonal barrel. I am a fan of octagonal barrels. Round barrels are pretty good. I especially like half round, half octagonal. I think that's really neat because you get the best of both worlds. But if I were to have a preference of one or the other, octagonal is definitely a way to go. Obviously, it was more expensive to make and it was more time consuming. But it just shows that they put that much more effort into the gun. The different types of color when it comes to, you know, from the fact that it's got bluing to nickel, I think that just shows that someone tried to repair it at some time. Not very aesthetically pleasing, but then again, I don't really care. You know, so obviously this is a used gun. Who it was used by, I have no idea. So I don't know how many hands this has passed through. Anyway, for more information on this revolver, stick around. I'll show you in the future videos.